Cafe anyway. Yeah.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
This has just been very fortuitous doing a podcast every day, as the name of the show is Mike's Daily Podcast. In fact, they're going to sing it. Mike's Daily Podcast. Thank you, nice people, for singing the song today. Someone said to me, I saw a boxer and I thought about you, Mike E. And I said thank you because Basil the Boxer was an awesome dog and I miss him so much. And yeah, you knew I was going to talk about him on the show because I talk about him every show. Talk about Mike's Daily Podcast. Great the dog, the great dog, the dog that he was. And so, Mike's boxers are great dogs, Daily but I tell you someday, podcast. When I get a dog, yeah, again, I will grab the closest one that needs me. It will just be that simple. I'm not gonna be, I want a Dalmatian. If it's a Dalmatian, I'm taking the Dalmatian, but I'm not going to specifically hunt out a particular dog. Oh, wow. Speaking of dogs, somewhere in the vicinity of Podcastro Valley, and we are broadcasting from Podcastro Valley, Mont, the last place on earth, Cafe anyway. Somewhere there is a very bizarre individual who has a criminal past, who apparently has a couple of very cruel dogs that were raised to fight, and they attacked someone's sweet husky dog just down the street from where this person lives. And I heard about this, and well, people are afraid of the guy that has the mean dogs, and no one's reporting him, and it's escalating, and it's some serious drama going on in Podcastro Valley. And people, it all comes from fear. When the wrong thing happens, this guy should be held accountable. His dog should be held accountable for hurting another dog.
And here's today's podcast picture.
And by hurting, I mean something on the order of $5,000 worth of vet bills. That's how bad this dog was hurt. But the owner of the offending dogs is not getting any punishment whatsoever because people are afraid to report him. So that's not right. But unfortunately, that's a thing that happens in all kinds of scenarios all the time in our world. So I just wanted to tell you that's happening in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. And the podcast picture today is of yes, no, not the late great Basil the Boxer. Should we do a late great Basil the Boxer? All right, we'll do one of Basil. Yes, I'll pick one for you from the halcyon days of the great dog, Basil the Boxer. All right. One of the things I ran into, one of the issues that I ran into when I was in Florida after my mom passed recently, and I had to go to Florida to take care of things that I had to. By the way, we sold her car. Yes, didn't think that was going to happen. I was being very negative. Should be positive. And great people, be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. Or I think maybe it's mighty angels come to your aid. And anyway, it happened, and some very good people on my mom's street helped out, and they were able to sell her car for, hey, we could have gotten more maybe in a better circumstance, but at least I was glad to sell it. So I got to close down that stupid Craigslist ad because I was getting every manner of idiot. What is it? If I may borrow the opening line jargon of Jerry Seinfeld, what's the deal with people on Craigslist when they answer? Let's say you put an ad up on Craigslist. The people that respond to you, that feel the desire to not capitalize words, use the worst grammar possible, right? Like just a real, is this ad, is this still work still this thing? You know, just the it's awful grammar. And you're like, No, you're a bot. I'm not going to respond to you. Here's my phone number. Call. Yeah, so that you can then have your number, my number, in your database. I know, I'm very paranoid, very suspicious, but there's some crazy stuff going on Craigslist. By the way, Craigslist, one of the last websites that is from some bygone era. Boy, can you remember when Craigslist came out? And everybody was using that all the time. It is one of the few web names, URLs, web page domains that does not have, that has an implicit apostrophe in it, but you cannot type it Craigslist with the apostrophe obviously in the URL. But you instinctively know, you just put the Craigslist, omit the apostrophe, and you go Craigslist.com. What's that like? Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. The apostrophe, you can't put it in a URL. Although nowadays, I think URLs are pretty smart. They just naturally correctly guess to just drop it and get to the domain anyway, the correct URL. All right. But one of the things I realized in Florida when I was trying to manage everything, managing time is difficult, and you need to know how to spend your time. A time log is a helpful way to determine how to use your time. Record what you're doing in 15-minute intervals. Do that for a week or two, and you can evaluate the results and ask questions like, did everything you needed get done? Everything you needed to do? Which tasks required more time and the most time? What time of day were you most productive? And where is most of your time devoted to? Is it recreation? Is it your job? Is it with your family? Identifying your most time-consuming tasks and determining whether you are investing your time in the most important activities can help you to determine a course of action. It's having a good sense of time. And there are routine tasks. And if you have a good way of doing those tasks, you can help you be more realistic in planning and estimating how much time is available for other activities. We're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont, the last place on earth. The other thing to do is set priorities. Managing your time effectively requires a distinction between what is important and what is urgent. Experts agree that the most important tasks usually aren't the most urgent tasks. Isn't that interesting? However, we tend to let the urgent tasks dominate our lives. Categorize your activities into 4 quadrants. Urgent, not urgent, important, and not important. More on this at extension.uga.edu. What the heck is that, you might be asking? It's the University of Georgia. Extension. uga.edu. And because students are that's where I first heard about managing time, was when I was in college. It actually took a managing time course, which was a complete waste of time. At any rate, somebody said to me, Mike, you sound like John Lovitz. And I said, really? John Lovitz? I once saw him at Jerry's Deli in, Studio City. That's the ticket. That was my John Lovitz impression. Okay, I guess just being myself is John Lovitzy. Use a planning tool. Time management experts recommend using a personal planning tool to improve your productivity. Personal planning tools include planners, calendars, phone apps, wall charts, index cards, pocket diaries, notebooks. Writing down your tasks and schedules and items to remember can free your mind to focus on your priorities. Get organized. Disorientation leads to poor time management. Yes, research shows that clutter has a strong negative impact on perceived well-being. To improve our time management, get organized. You can do the thing with 3 boxes, or you can do the 3 corners of a room and label one keep, the other giveaway, and the other toss. Remember that show on, was it the Home and Garden Network? television network. And they had that Australian guy saying, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to have 3 falls. I'm going to have cape. I'm going to have giveaway. You're going to have toss. And then that's where I was like, I guess I'll toss that Australian accent. The next thing is, by the way, In Excess, Australian band. That's the part of the podcast where I talk about music. Michael Hutchence, he died on my birthday. Mysterious circumstances. Ruled a suicide, but then others say an accidental death, and I won't go into why. But I will say, the Ferris brothers, very important part of the band, and the other guys. And interestingly enough, the band, in some ways, could have had a resurgence. It did have a mild resurgence in the 2000s with a song called Pretty Vegas. And it had that other lead singer that was picked from a band, that reality TV show called Rock Band In Excess. Was it Rock Band or... Well, at any rate, it was a reality TV show, kind of like a American Idol, but it was a rock version. And I think the band picked which lead singer they liked the best, and this guy won. J.D. Fortune was his name, that's right. And he was only with the band for about a year, then they let him go. He said they fired me in Hong Kong at an airport. Or was it Hong Kong, or was it China? I forget. So he gets let go, but then the band says, no, we didn't really let him go. And then he actually toured with them a little bit longer, but I don't think he's with them anymore. In Excess. Why do I bring up In Excess? Because the song that put them on the map initially was called What You Need. Then the next huge song, in fact, I think it was their first number 1, was a song called Need You Tonight. Both songs had need in the title. Did they then have 4 number 1s with the album Kick? I'm trying to remember if New Sensation, Devil Inside, and Don't Tell Me, well, Never Tear Us Apart, that's right. I think they were all number 1 songs. And I remember that pretty much because I used to have to get up really early on Sunday mornings, go to the radio station, and play off of record the American Top 40 Countdown show. And when I started, Casey Kasem was the host. But within a couple of weeks, he left and Shadow Stevens took over. And believe it or not, yours truly may or may not have that copy of the show where Casey said goodbye for the last time. I may or may not, and that may or may not be worth something. Probably is. At any rate, In Excess, what a band. There is a concert on YouTube that you can watch that they did, and they are riveting. Michael Hutchence is riveting, and they sound great. Their songs were so dancey and upbeat, and they started off more like pub rock, but then they got into more funk. And they practiced all kinds of... They had the album called X after Kick that had Suicide Blonde and Disappear. Great band. Oh, and then later on, there was the album Welcome to Wherever You Are. I loved that album, too. Even though that wasn't as big, but it had that song, Beautiful Girl, Stay With Me. Had the line about the cat. And then there was the song, Not Enough Time for What I... And not enough time for every kiss and all the lights. I wanna be with you. And I think I'm paraphrasing the lyrics. Finally, about how to manage time. Delegate your time. Get help from others. Other people. Delegating means assigning responsibility for a task to someone else, freeing up your time for tasks that require your expertise. There you go. Identify tasks others can do and select the appropriate persons to do them. Select someone with the appropriate skills, experience, interest, and authority needed to accomplish the task. And be specific. Define the task and your expectations while allowing the person some freedom to personalize the task. Great tips there. Also, with your time, you should schedule appropriately. Scheduling is more than just recording what must be done. Be sure to build in time for the things you want to do. Effective scheduling requires you to know yourself. Your time log should help you identify when you are most productive and alert. Plan your most challenging tasks for when you have the most energy. Stop procrastinating and manage the time wasters. Yes, those handheld devices, emails, unexpected visitors, family obligations. Avoid multitasking, because that does not save time. In fact, the opposite is true. You lose time when switching from one task to another, resulting in loss of productivity. And finally, stay healthy. That helps you manage your time. The care and attention you give yourself is an important investment of time. Scheduling time to relax or do nothing helps you rejuvenate physically and mentally, enabling you to accomplish tasks more quickly and easily. So monitor that screen time. Make sure you're not wasting time. And that's managing time. Thank you, University of Georgia Extension. I think I've gone to this website before for help in that area. Been very helpful. extension.uga.edu. Hey, we're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. Let's say hi to a couple of folks while we still have time. Hi, Matt. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How y'all doing?
It's a disgruntled fiddle player. Tell you what.
What?
I think that this show was a waste of time and I learned nothing.
Wait, what? Huh? That's so mean and cruel. You're a waste of time.
Thank you.
Look who else is here.
Hello, Mike. I make delicious root beer.
Thank you. I think I will, because we may make time for root beer. Wow. Delish. All right. Thank you, Brewmaster.
Drink it right now. I'll cut you.
That's what I was doing just now. I was spending time doing that. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Madame Rootabega, Valentino, Bison Bentley. Chime in, ring the chimes, those beautiful wind chimes, and tell me what you think about anything we covered today. Any suggestions, any thoughts, any words, any questions. 336-MM Daily, 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews, Daily as in what this podcast has been for a couple of days. Who knows? We might get interrupted tomorrow. Who knows? We'll see what happens, right? Tomorrow is another day. Check out the podcast picture at mikesdailypodcast.com. And with more ways to reach me, here is someone named A. Frank.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!